Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Money Mondays. I am Belinda Ray with Greater Portland Council of Governments, here with my colleague, Paul Johnson. Paul, introduce yourself. Like, say something.
Hey everybody, Paul Johnson, Economic
That,
Development Director.
thank you. I was just noticing that in the recordings, if you don't speak, you're not on there. So
Gotcha. Oh, that makes sense.
wanted
Gotcha.
you to
Yeah.
show up
Yeah.
briefly at the beginning here. So yeah, we do this every Monday morning, 9 o'clock, to present you, our members and community partners, with funding opportunities and regional resources. We like to do it quick. We like to get right into it. If you have questions, please pop them in the Q&A and we will handle them at the end. And with that, oh goodness, there's my share. Okay, I'm gonna find my share and we are going to get started. All right. Paul, are you ready to go?
I'm ready. Before I get started, just because I think we have a lot of new people watching today, so I just wanted to
Mhm.
plug, we do have our prior episodes available. And so and I believe they'll have a pretty good description on each episode. So if something strikes your fancy, you can go back and look. And as Belinda says, we keep it strictly to 15 minutes or less. So we will have you in and out in no time. I'm going to use my time today. I talked about this in our first Money Mondays, but I want to revisit it. Just to plug that GPCOG, and by the way, the City of Portland, the Portland Development Corporation, has a program very similar to this. So when I'm speaking, it also applies to the City of Portland. There is a revolving loan fund. We have a revolving loan fund for small and medium-sized businesses here at GPCOG, and I'll give you a few of the details. By the way, revolving means simply that as I get repaid, I just revolve the money back out the door. I deal with a lot of business owners that say, what does revolving mean? And really, for the business owners or the applicants, it doesn't matter much. But really, revolving just means that as the money comes in, we try to get it right back out the door. We try to keep the administrative costs as little as possible, so to speak. So our revolving loan fund, it's important to know that we can work directly with business owners, but what I just bolded here is that we work very closely with banks throughout the regions to meet the finance needs of area businesses. A very typical deal for us would be Norway Savings Bank, Bangor Savings Bank, Gorham Savings Bank. They would come to me and say, hey, listen, we have a business loan, but we only want to accept, let's say, 80% of the risk. And the owner only has 10% of equity to bring to the deal, and we need 10% more of the deal. And that's where banks can pull us in. We work seamlessly with the bank as soon as we get approval from the bank and the potential applicant. If they want to access our program, I just steal all the stuff from the bank and I do a concurrent process and I make it really easy on everybody. So oftentimes these programs are what brings something across the finish line for projects that are, let's say, anywhere from $100,000 all the way up to $1 million or $2 million. We can be that last little piece of financing. The banks love us because oftentimes we'll come in what's called second position. So if the bank, essentially, we are risk-free to the bank because we are willing to come in behind the bank. So if things go wrong and any sort of collateral collection has to happen, the bank gets precedence over us. So the bank loves GPCOG in that sense. And again, we also do smaller loans directly. We do direct loans that would be like $50,000 or less. We'll finance 100% of a project. Which, just real quick, we'll do up to 50% of a total project cost. And the most we'll lend out is $350,000 for one project. But we'll also do 100% of a project cost if it's less than $50,000. If you are going to come to GPCOG or the PDC, the Portland Development Corporation, for 100% of a project cost, you do have to be somehow denied by a bank. So it's important, these programs cannot crowd out private banks. But I will say for GPCOG, at least, being denied by a bank has a pretty loose definition. You might have let's say you have a credit union that doesn't do business loans, and that's where you do all your banking. Them telling you no would be enough for us to help you out. So being denied doesn't have to be being denied through a huge rigorous process. And there's no minimum loan amount, but I would say that we're probably hesitant to do anything less than $10,000. That's not an official bar, but considering the time and the energy that's available, $10,000 would be my personal minimum loan amount that I might gatekeep, so to speak. And with that, we're going to hand it off to Belinda.
Thanks so much, Paul. Yeah, I'm going to talk today about the Charging and Fueling Infrastructure Grant. This is a program of the US DOT, Federal Highway Administration. And the goal, is anyone watching all the football that you really play with your feet that's going on right now? There's a lot. So that's why I have the soccer goal. So they are trying to provide support for the build out of the nation's electrified and alternative fuel corridors. So it will fill critical gaps, build out charging infrastructure. That's the goal of the program. We're going to talk today about the community grant. There's also a corridor grant under this same opportunity, but the community grant, I think, is better suited to our municipalities and smaller partners. I want to give you a little history on that so that you understand kind of why I'm pushing you in that direction. So last year, or actually earlier this year, MainDOT was awarded $15 million through this very opportunity. They got money through the corridor and the community program. And it's, again, to help build out Maine's infrastructure for charging, electrification, and alternative fuels. The communities that are listed here were all referenced in their grant application, and we'll likely see some benefit from this funding that's coming through. And the ones highlighted in yellow are our specific region, the GPCOG region. Now, you might look at this and say, well, wait, Maine got 15 million just earlier this year. What are the odds that I would get any funding if I apply? Well, I point you to the tiny town of Taos, New Mexico, population 6,422. In this last funding round, they received 500,000 at the same time that their New Mexico DOT received almost 64 million, and Santa Fe County, which is right next to Taos County, received 3.3 million. So as long as the projects are not overlapping, you do have a shot at getting this funding. So didn't give up just because Maine has recently been funded. Who is eligible? Always municipalities, states, MPOs like GPCOG, tribes, territories, special districts, or any combination of these. So if you wanted to try to talk to MainDOT and potentially apply in tandem with them if they are going for something in this next round, that's a possibility as well. It will fund the acquisition and installation of any of this infrastructure or property. If you have to acquire property in order to install the infrastructure, it will support that as well. Supports development activities, so all the pre-construction kind of stuff. Also, a small portion of your grant, not to exceed 5% of your total award, can go toward community engagement and education activities to help create that buy-in within your community. The types, I kind of went right to left here. The types, it will do electric vehicle charging infrastructure, hydrogen, propane, and natural gas. Now, all of these, the big key is that it has to be either located on public roads, public property, or other publicly accessible locations. So you can work with someone, a private landowner, as long as you can create an agreement that makes sure that the public has access to this charging infrastructure with no restrictions. So can be public, can be on private land, as long as you have that agreement in place. Key features of the program. So the minimum is 500,000. The maximum is 15 million. There is a 20% non-federal match. And you have to take that 20% out of your total project cost. So if the cost, if the project is 625,000, you can apply for 500 and you'll have to match it with 125,000. Now, an interesting thing this time around is that they have priority to rural areas. So those would be non-PACT communities. And if you're confused about who's a PACT community, who's a GPCOG community, that is on our website, gpcog.org. You can see that map. The PACT communities are all part of the urbanized area, so they are not rural. The communities outside are rural, and there's special priority to them this year. On a scale of 1 to 10, this is a 7. I'm not going to pretend these grants are easy to apply for. They are not. It's very difficult. You might want a grant writer if you don't have someone who is specialized in your municipality. But the NOFO, the Notice of Funding Opportunity, lays out all the topics you have to cover in your narrative, and the maximum is 25 pages. Now, some people that'll sound like a lot, some people it's not. The deadline's August 28th, so you have a full, 8 to 10 weeks here. That's plenty of time. The other thing I will say, here's to find out more. The other thing I want to say is that important. This program should have funding for 2025 and 2026 too. So if you feel like, oh, we'd really like to do this, I'm not sure we can get it in this year, start. If you can get it in, get it in. If it doesn't do well, you'll get feedback as to what wasn't great about your application, and then you can apply next year or the year after, provided the funding stays, which it should. So here's how you can find out more about that. I urge you to take the risk, jump in, try to get the application started, see how hard it is, see if maybe you do need a grant writer, and budget that for next year if necessary. That is what I have for you today. Our emails are there. If anyone has questions after the fact, often you think of your questions after the fact. And as usual, we will email slides and a link to the recording when we are all done. Oh, I see a comment, and it's a thank you. Wonderful. Paul, do you have anything else you'd like to add today?
No, as we promised, 3 minutes under deadline. We're good.
Yes.
Thank you, everybody.
Always. Spread the word, get your friends here. We'll be here next Monday. Have a good 4th of July, everybody. Bye.